Hey ladies, and welcome to our Biblical Womanhood, Being a Grace Energized Woman study series here at Heavenly Minded Home. Now, I'm so excited to share this with you guys because this is a 12-week course. We did it all summer long, looking through exactly what God's Word says about women, right? As women, what are we called to be? If we profess to be followers of Jesus, what does that look like? What is God's will, and more importantly, His design for our lives so that we can live as grace-energized women? That's exactly what we're going to be talking about here. I originally recorded this series for our membership group. That's a group here on YouTube when you click that join button, where we have exclusive study series talking about biblical woman, being a homemaker, all kinds of amazing topics that relate to us women in our roles as wives and moms and just daughters of the Lord. So excited to share this with you all here. You guys can sign up down below for the email link where I will make sure you get the sermons, the studies, and everything to go along with us. This series will be free here on YouTube that's put out to you all. We're going to have sermons we watch through, we're going to have a discussion video, and then an application video. If you guys want a little bit more and you want to dig in a little bit deeper, you want to get access to the booklets, the materials that can be a help in studying into this, you want to get this year's current study where we are digging in deep with my daughters alongside of me into how we walk this out, how we live this out day in and day out in our lives. You guys can click that join button to come join us over there. I have links down in the description to give you all the details and all the stuff. Comment along as you go. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I pray this can be a blessing for you in your walk with the Lord as you grow each and every day, as we all grow, right? Each and every day in our spiritual maturity. So, praying this is a blessing. I'll get out of here, let you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Good morning, friends, and welcome back. New week, diving into a new topic. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening through Monday's sermon, just like last week, and actually how it's going to be next week as well. We've got a few weeks here where we're actually going to have 2 sermons per week. So just like I did last week, on Thursdays, I will also post an additional sermon for you guys to watch, and we will cover that in Friday's video. I figured if we had more stacked up toward the end of the week, you could still have the weekend to go through it if you need a little extra time to catch up. So you will have another sermon that pops up tomorrow, and then Friday we will discuss all of that. So this week, big topic here. Like I said, all of them are, but looking at self-sacrificial love for our husbands, okay? So let's just preface this a little bit. Some of you might have started to watch Mondays and then maybe turned it off, or thought, okay, well, this week doesn't really apply to me. Remember how I said, you can kind of look through the schedule and be like, which weeks do I think apply to me? They all still apply to us, okay? So let me just preface this by saying, if you are single and you're not married, right? Then this week and then probably next week is probably going to be a little different for you. But the root of what we're talking about still stands. If you are single, haven't been married, who knows? Maybe the Lord one day might put someone in your life, right? Marriage, maybe it's something that you do desire. Maybe it's something you don't even think about. But maybe one day it might get there. Regardless, looking at this focus of self-sacrificial love is still incredibly important, okay? Because self-sacrificial love is something that we must have across the board. Specifically, though, as women, for our first ministry, which is our ministry at home to our spouse and our children, okay? So single, never been married, there's still a lot you can learn from this. I understand that not all of this topic is necessarily going to, apply directly in your life, but still something we can learn here from this root heart issue, which is the self-sacrificial love, okay? If you are with someone like you are married, but you are not married, this is a big topic. We're not going to go into all of this here. If that's something you're struggling with, we're happy to counsel and chat, outside of this. understand that it is important. Understand that fornication is a very serious sin, okay? I know in our culture today, and even honestly, usually in the church, living together, sleeping together, having children together, all of those things without actually being married is quite acceptable today. Most people don't get it. You go, well, in our hearts, we love each other. I mean, we're married. That's it. That's not it, okay? So your boyfriend is not your husband, okay? If this is what you're going to be doing, you need to be married. A boyfriend is not a husband, regardless of what society says. If you are in a relationship, right, and you are living as a husband and wife without being a husband and wife, I highly recommend you get to a good, solid church. Go and get married, okay? Don't worry about the wedding and all of the things and all of the stuff. Like, don't worry about all of the chaos, right? Well, I hear that all the time. Well, we haven't gotten married yet because it's so expensive. And but we make it expensive, right? I worked in the wedding industry. Trust me, I know how expensive we can make it. Go get married, right? Get right before the Lord. Go get married. Go take care of that, okay? And then you can apply all of these things, okay? Third category here being you are divorced. We understand that divorce is never what the Lord desires. It isn't, ever, okay? Marriage was supposed to be till death, right? Your souls join together. But we understand that in this fallen, sinful world, regardless, you got divorced before you became a believer. It was one of the very rare occasions that Scripture does give a concession to our hearts. There are a couple reasons here. Maybe you got divorced completely unbiblically, but I mean, it is what it is. You're here now. Don't beat yourself up. That's not what we're here to do. I understand that this topic can be a little difficult because you now don't have that person there. Maybe you really wish that person would come back and humble themselves before the Lord and be your husband as they are supposed to be. But that might not be your case, okay? So I understand that this topic for you, I mean, in this situation, you should not, once you've been divorced, you should not be seeking to be remarried, right? What does Scripture say? Scripture says, go and devote yourself to the Lord, right? Go and serve the Lord. If you've been remarried, I'm not saying, oh my goodness, freak out. There's so many details here in all of this. I know it's hard to cover all because we have actual stuff to get to. But I just want to caveat this in saying, hey, where you're at today, regardless of how you've gotten there, right? If you are remarried, you put this into effect. If you one day might be married, you take this in so you're learning about this. You're modeling self-sacrificial love. If you are with someone that you're not married to, go get married so you can put all of this into effect, right? It's very, very important. If you are single, you've been divorced, you're devoting yourself to the Lord, you can still learn from the root cause here of the self-sacrificial love. Maybe there's things that you want to go to your ex-spouse and say, hey, I'm sorry that I was not living as a biblical woman when we were married. I know this is a conversation my mom and I have had. She actually called my dad, and they've been divorced since I was a small child, and said, hey, I'm sorry. I did not live as a biblical wife. I did not do what Scripture so clearly tells us to do. And look, our marriage ended, Can't do anything about it now, she's remarried, and so this applies now, there's a lot into that, but we still all can learn something here. But I do understand that, especially with this topic, there are a lot of little asterisks everywhere. What about this person or that person? So hopefully I've made myself clear in this now very long precursor warning before we dig into it. Let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, now that I've made a mess of all of this, let's get started and dive into this topic of self-sacrificial love for our husbands, okay? So let's look first at our scriptures here. I'm going to look here at our handy-dandy little chart, and let's just see how this is written across the board. It's very simple, very straightforward, really not much to break down here, right? This is our first focus in things that we are to train the younger women to do. So this applies literally every single one of us. Older women, you should already be doing this, and then you can model and teach the younger women to do this. Younger women, you're going to learn how to do this so that you can start doing it. If you are married now or when you become married, right? You can start modeling the self-sacrificial love, okay? So train the younger women to love their husbands, encourage the younger women to love their husbands, train the young women to love their husbands, admonish the young women to love their husbands, train the younger women to love their husbands. Bottom line, love your husbands, right? How do we have these marriages that have this, this base where the mom and the dad, the husband and the wife, love one another? I know as we listen to the sermon and we listen and we look back at this, first century life, what it was like. Guys, it is no different today. Our world is so hostile to biblical marriage. So hostile. Honestly, the church doesn't help matters. Most churches, what do they offer? Men's stuff, women's stuff. Guys go over here, ladies stay over here. Guys hang out with the guys, if guys are even coming, because usually it's just the women. Girls hang out with the girls, and they're over here doing their little thing. Even most of the Christian marriage speakers, retreats, things like that, the big name guys, it's not biblical marriage advice. There's some Bible stuff mixed in with it, but a lot of it's just a lot of just silliness and surface level stuff. Very few things truly dig in to the core of biblical marriage. The roles of the husband, the roles of the wife, the importance of these things. As the two of you grow closer to the Lord, you grow closer to one another. The importance of these things, they're huge. And I love, we're going to look at those 3 points that he is explaining that Liz George had given to his wife when she was, they were young, working in the church and starting in ministry. We're going to look at those and we're going to reflect on our own lives and look at our own lives and truly apply these things and say, hey, are we doing these things? The most important thing in your life has got to be your knowledge and growth in the Lord. That's your biblical literacy and your spiritual maturity, okay? Are you being shepherded? Do you have a solid shepherd to help guide you and lead you as you discern through all of this? You dig into all of this, right? Women, we're here to help one another with these things, right? For everything else, we have our shepherd who can teach us and guide us and lead us as we dig into the totality of God's word. We learn these things, right? We're growing every day. That is first and foremost. That comes before everything, right? So God, his ways, learning them, doing them, growing, all of that above your husband every day. That's there, okay? Next, our husbands. Above ourselves, above the children, above our friends, above our hobbies, above all of the things, right? Our husbands. Are we truly doing that? Do our husbands feel like we're doing that? Guys, I will be honest and say that there have been many times that I have felt I'm doing a pretty good job at doing these things. But then I have a conversation with my husband and he doesn't. And I go, what do you mean you don't feel like I'm doing these things? I did this, 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 and this. Like, I did this for you. And he goes, you did that for me? I could care less about that. I, didn't even register on my radar screen. Well, I'm glad we had this conversation. Because if I'm working over here and you're going over here and our paths aren't even our paths aren't even crossing, what I just said, then we have an issue. So to have this conversation with your spouse even and say, hey, I want to make sure that you feel loved. You feel respected. You feel like I'm there for you and I care for you. If you're brave, ask your husband, do you feel those ways? How do you think I'm doing? Do you think, ask, because you don't know if you don't ask. And sometimes you might be a little surprised, right? Or maybe it's the other way. Maybe your husband will go, oh my gosh, absolutely, and things that you didn't even realize he's been connecting with. I don't know. It's a conversation for you two to have. Because if you don't have a conversation, how do you know? How do you know how he feels? Have you ever thought to stop and ask him? Do you feel loved? Do you feel respected? This week is going to be a big week to go through all of these topics. Look at all of these different aspects. Think back to when you were dating, right? You presented yourself a certain way to your spouse. You prioritized your time with him. You, rearranged everything, right? You'd rehang the moon so you could make sure that you could go and do these things and whatnot. We had a certain way to go about things. And then for any of us who've been married for a while, you realize that things, they start to change. And I think there's a natural maturity that happens in that. But at the same time, we can lose it. Just like he gave the example, there's so many times, and just in our short time in ministry, we've seen that where Christian man, Christian woman, what happened? You both know these things, yet something happened. Something else came in between. And remember, it doesn't always have to be another woman. Sports, work, hobbies, gaming, right? Like there's so many different things that can come in between and fill that void when you're not being there for one another. And so stopping and looking at these things and saying, okay, this week, let's really assess ourselves when it comes to our relationship with our spouse. How are we doing? And like I said, ask him. Ask him, because if you're doing things and he's not receiving them, you're not connecting, then you're just going to be wasting your time, right? Don't do that. Ask him. The way you dress, the way you look, is that what he desires? I know for me, you guys that have been around, you know this, but my husband has always wished that I would wear more dresses. I have never been a dress person, okay? We started dating when I was 14 years old. We got married when I was 17 years old. We've been married now for 17 and a half years, okay? We've been together for a while. He has always said, I wish you would wear more dresses. Dresses are so cute. Never. I've always been a jeans and tee gal. End of story. And finally, I guess it's been a couple years ago now, I finally gave in and I started wearing more dresses. And then I felt kind of silly because dresses are amazing. They are so comfortable, so much easier to wear than everything else, and you look so put together when you've literally put in no effort. I love it, and he is so happy. He loves me in dresses. So I now have a handful of dresses and pretty much wear a dress every single day. I have worked in a couple things that we both agreed on, but talking about that, he only gets one. I am the only girl that he gets. I want to be the only girl that he desires, right? That he wants to have, right? Like I want that. And so I want to do the things that please him, right? He's the one who has to look at me all day and vice versa, right? Like he wears the things that I like for him to wear because I get one. I have to look at him all day, so he does the things that I like to wear, right? It works both ways. But we can only control what we can do, right? You can't just walk in and say, I demand you do that. It doesn't work that way. Never works that way. But have you asked, do you like how I look? My husband likes when I keep my nails done. So I spend time, and I do stuff myself, but I take care of my nails because I know he appreciates that. He likes that. I have had long hair for 21 years now because he likes long hair. Now I've had it for so long, I don't even know what I would do with short hair, to be honest with you, but I keep my hair long because he likes long hair, right? I put on a little bit of makeup each day because he enjoys seeing me put together and doing that. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that you need to go do these things. You need to talk to your husband and see what he likes. Does he like the way your hair is? Does he like the way your makeup is? Does he like no makeup? What is it? What are the things that your husband likes? My husband has told me he could care less about how our entire house looks. He likes a nicely kept house, but he doesn't really care. He is a bathroom neat freak fanatic. So if there's only one room in our entire house that ever gets cleaned, it's our bathroom. Guys, I'll be honest with you. I in the morning do my video with you guys in here, and then I don't walk back into my room until I'm going to bed. until I get my shower at night and I'm getting ready to go to bed. I spend the least amount of time in our room, which means it is always the last room to get cleaned because I'm not in here. I'm out in the rest of the house doing all of the other things all throughout the day. So I have to be focused and be diligent to say, hey, when was the last time I scrubbed down our bathroom? I need to go do that, right? Like that's something that he notices, that he appreciates. So me being aware and saying, hey, I need to make sure I get that done, right? Just making that little shift. Self-sacrificial. I'm putting what he wants before what I want. I come in and I make that change. It makes a big difference. Have this conversation, right? And the way that you look, we're going to talk about the way that we spend our time, the things that we prioritize. What about your physical relationship, right? I know for us, guys, I'll be honest, my husband suffers with chronic depression. It is very difficult. I honestly don't understand it most of the time. I have to work very, very hard to try to be aware of these things, right? I have to put that before myself. We took, when we were first married, we did the love languages thing, right? How do you receive love? For me, it's acts, it's things that you do. For my husband, it's physical connection. Guys, I am like the least emotional person ever. It's really bad. I have to work really, really hard at being aware, right? I even make sure with the kids, like, oh, stop and give hugs and snuggles, like do these things. I enjoy doing it. That's not how I connect. That's not what's first for me. So I have to stop and be aware and say, hey, I know this is how you feel loved. I need to make sure that I'm doing those things. Do you have a priority on your intimate relationship with your spouse? Have you talked, hey, what do you want? What is what you desire? What is what really connects with you? Are these things a priority? Are these just the things that get put on the back burner, right? We're always putting, it's so easy to put those closest to us the furthest back because you go, I'll deal with it later. Stop putting your spouse on the back burner. Bring it up. Do you feel loved? Are you happy with, how I look? Are you happy with the time we spend together? How we prioritize our time, our intimate relationship? Have you gone through all of those things and really said, hey, what is best for you? What is it that you're wanting? Are you feeling loved and desired and respected? We've got to ask these questions and go through them. And I know it might be difficult. I know every time I've had to do it in my relationship, it's very difficult and I don't like it because I'd much rather just stuff all of the feelings and emotions down and ignore all of it if I'm being honest. But imagine that. Life doesn't work out very well when you do those things. Have these conversations. Ask these questions. But then we have to make these changes. Find out what it is that he desires, that he wants. And then let's do those things because you guys only get each other. You guys have one another. You want to do the things that please one another. And even if he doesn't do everything right now that you want, you can start doing the things now that he wants. And by your conduct, by your actions, it can make a huge impact. Is your spouse not walking with the Lord? Or thinks he kind of is, but he's really not leading his home spiritually and doing what he should be? It's not your place to walk in and nitpick him and point out where he's doing wrong. I promise you, ladies, that you start doing these things that we're working through in the study, you start taking responsibility for your walk with the Lord by your conduct, by your example, by doing things like what I just said we need to do this week. It can have an insanely huge impact on your marriage, on your spouse. You don't have to nag. You don't have to fuss. You don't have to lecture him. You don't have to... Nope. Shh. Ask him what he wants. Do it. With a happy heart. With self-sacrificial love. Putting God first, right? your time in study, your time in church, your time in being shepherded, your time, you put your relationship with the Lord first. Let nothing infringe upon that. Nothing, 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 nothing. And then your spouse. What does he want? What does he desire? What would he like? Ask him, then do it. Your spouse should be the closest human being to you in this life. So truly stop and think about that. Who is your closest friend, your closest confidant, that person that you talk to every day, they know everything, they're the first person you go to tell them when something's happened, right? Who is that? If that person is not your husband, we have an issue. Something's off. And let's just be honest, guys, it is much easier for that to be a friend, your mom, sister, right? Somebody else. Again, we have a culture, even within the church, that puts, oh yeah, the women over here, they all have that. And then the guys, oh, well, they're just over there doing their thing. We don't, yeah. No. My husband and I, we preface this. We've always done this. And we go, not that you care, but I know I'm coming to tell you something that isn't what you care about. But because you love me, you want to be interested. You want to hear about it. Guys, I can tell you so many facts about baseball, about mixed martial arts fighting, about so many things that if me left to my own devices, probably wouldn't know any of these things, okay? Not my area. But because I know my husband loves this area, I learn about it. I know about it. There are so many things. It's so funny. We've been doing with our church. My husband leads Bible study during the week at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So he reads and talks, and then everybody who's on the call, we, interject, ask questions, whatever. And I keep laughing because I've noticed myself multiple times now, the things that keep standing out to me are these talks about the kingdom and kingdom theology and how backwards we have it. That is my husband's #1 favorite topic. And I go, oh my gosh, honey, I sound like you, but how can they say that when scripture says this? Because I know so much about those topics because those are those topics that he's passionate about. So in listening to him and talking with him about them, I know so much about certain topics because that's his passion and his desire to dig into and communicate with and have somebody to talk it out and to share. So now I know a lot about those things, right? But who is your closest friend? Who is that person? Is it your spouse? Let's look at these 3 ways. And I want us, like I said, the questions I said earlier, ask your husband. I want us to truly ask our husbands. And share down below if you'd like. But ask your husbands, the little questions. Like I said, things you wear, how you look, the priorities that you have in your home, in your life, the intimate time that you guys have together, all of any of those topics, you think of it, ask your spouse just as you go throughout your day, hey, what do you think about this? Do you like this? The way you spend your time, what you spend your time doing and focusing on and prioritizing, how does he feel about that? Does he like it or would he change some things? Ask these questions. And this is a continual process, right? You're going to start today and forever through, till death do you part, continue to ask these questions. Do you like this? Are you good with this? What would you, prefer that I did? Ask these things. But then let's look at these three points as we pursue our husbands that we had from Monday's sermon. Again, in doing all this, we've got to decide that we're going to make our husband our #1 relationship. So right now, if your days are usually connected more with any other human being other than your husband, today you have to make that change. I'm not saying you're not allowed to connect with anybody else. I have other women that I connect with throughout my day and it's fantastic. But my connection has to come first and foremost with my husband. So if that's gotten out of whack, and guys, I'll be honest, sometimes we are so busy, I do notice, I said good morning to him. People think because we all work from home that I just see him all the time. I don't. I really don't. I have some days, and we've gone through some periods where I see him in the morning. We do family Bible study after his walk, and then I don't see him until we're tucking the kids into bed at night. I have no idea what he's done today, right? He has no idea what I've done today. We haven't talked with one another, minus maybe a couple things here or there. we're completely disconnected. We have to change that, right? We have to notice when that happens and make a change. So first you need to check that. You need to say, hey, who's my number one closest friend that I'm connecting with during the day? If it's not my husband, I need to change that. Do whatever you need to do to change that, to connect with him, to make him the number one relationship, human relationship, right, under the Lord, that you are connecting with each and every day. Number 2, we need to start to seek our husband's friendship and love ahead of all others. Think back to when you were dating, right? Are you dressing for him? Are you doing the little things that you know he appreciates? Are you sending him the little notes, right? Doing just these little things that can be so impactful. So I said, have the conversation. What is it that he likes and desires? Do those things. Guys, I know life is busy. Kids and life, all of the things. I have to stop myself and think, I know there are little things that he appreciates. Do those things. Go give him a kiss. Hug him a little bit longer. Tell him how much you appreciate him. Tell him how much you appreciate the work he does for your family. Pray for him, preferably with him, before he leaves for work in the morning or, whenever it is that he leaves. And again, when he gets back. Pray for his day, for what he's going to encounter, for the stress and worry that he has on his shoulders. Listen to him. Be there for him. Guys, I shared with you all, my husband, I guess I can share this in the next point. The next point being, examine your schedule to see if you're intentionally doing this, okay? Let's look at our schedules and see, okay, I've talked with my husband, right? I've decided he's going to be my number one relationship. I'm seeking to put that in the first priority to make that happen. And now I need to examine my schedule to make sure that I'm actually doing this, right? That this is actually working. This is what I was going to say. My husband's a night owl, guys. He's up late. He's gotten a lot better than he used to be, but he's a night guy. My whole family, really, all but my daughter Virginia, they could stay up late every single night. They're total night owls. I'm ready for bed by like 8:30. Like at 9 o'clock at the latest, I could be in bed asleep. I'm exhausted. My husband loves staying up at night, maybe watching, he's always been a baseball guy, and so he just loves playing the sport, and so making sure that he's checked himself for idolatry, it's not in that point, but he likes staying up. We're from California, so the Dodgers, obviously. But it means that everything, they play on West Coast time. So for us, if the game's on, it's on late at night. He likes to stay up and watch. He would love it if I wanted to watch with him. We used to go to games when we were younger and dating and first moved out here and whatever. He likes that. Guys, I'm tired. I'm ready for bed. I am cranky and irritable and not very fun late at night. I've started taking naps in the afternoon. That's how I have changed my schedule to better suit pursuing my husband, right? And being there in friendship and love. I am not this super sweet romantic wife at the end of the night because I'm tired and cranky and I want to go to bed, right? I've had a long day. That's putting me first. So I now, every afternoon after we've had our Bible study with our church, I put myself down like a toddler and I take a nap. And guess what? I wake up so much more refreshed. I am much nicer in the evening. We do our family stuff. We get the kids to bed. We watch baseball together, right? Or we watch a show together. We spend time together. We talk. We do whatever it is that we're going to do with our evening time together with me in a much better mood because I have adjusted my schedule to better suit my friendship and my just relationship with my husband. So I've made those changes. So I now can stay up and I can do these things and then be like, okay, now I'm going to bed and it works out better. But are we adjusting these things, right? I see so many, and maybe this has been, we've always been a one-car family. So we never had the ability for like him to go one way and me to go another way. So then whenever we would hang out with like other couple friends, we noticed that they're always going in opposite directions. He goes and does his thing, she does her thing, and like they rarely cross paths. We were never that way. We always did everything together. But I'm so thankful that just because we were poor and could never afford 2 cars or 2 things, I'm so thankful for that because it meant we always did everything together. He is my best friend. Even when our marriage was awful, the thing that really stunk was at the end of the day, we were still each other's best friends. We only had each other. So we had to get over it. We had to work through it. Because I only have him and he only has me. What is it? Is there something in your marriage that is filling that gap of closeness? Again, it could be another person. It could be your activities, your hobbies, sports, TV, whatever it is that you guys are checking out and not coming together. We have to identify those things and we have to make those changes so that you can connect, you can come together, you can be what fills that closeness void that your spouse might be having. We must examine these things. We must ask, we must have these conversations, and ladies, let's make some changes starting this week. Again, you might start doing stuff and maybe you've got a lot of work that needs to happen in your marriage. So maybe your husband doesn't absolutely connect to all of this right off the bat. That's okay. Keep on in prayer, being persistent. You'll get there, I promise. Adoration, respect, and kindness. Do you show him that? Does he feel that you show him that? Maybe you're thinking you're doing it, but he's not connecting it. Ask him. Make these changes. Let's start today and pursue our husbands. Even if they're not saved at all. Even if they claim to be Christians, but they're not living the life that we know biblically they really should. They're not spiritually leading and shepherding their families. Even if there's struggles, even if there's issues, even if there's frustrations, right? There's going to be all of those things. Let's pursue them today. Let's ask them what they desire. Let's go through and let's adjust our days, our schedules, our priorities, what we care about to start to be these things that connect with them. Okay? You got a lot of work to do today. We all do, right? So that's what we're going to start working on today. Tomorrow we're going to have another sermon. Again, I think just really pulling together why this should be this first priority thing that, right, train the younger one. What do we start with? Self-sacrificial love for husbands. It's huge. Tomorrow we're going to learn why. Friday I'll be back and we will discuss it. But go get started today. If you would like to share down in the comments what it is that you're really struggling with, you really have to work through, if you've kind of been here, done this, and what's kind of stood out, anything you'd like to share that down below in the comments. But otherwise, big, deep topic. I'm praying for each and every one of you as you go and speak to your husbands today and talk about this. Anything that I can ever do for you guys, please reach out, ask, let me know, whatever it is. Otherwise, I will be back here on Friday. See you ladies then. Bye y'all. I pray that this discussion was just helpful for you. I pray for all of us that we get convicted, that the Lord does lead us as we go through these sermons and these scriptures and we talk about this together. It is so important to understand this. Now be sure when you subscribe to tap that little bell notification so that way you get all of these videos as they come out for the next 12 weeks. They will be up all the time, so feel free to come back, reuse them, come join us in the group where you can get a private class page to keep everything together for you. Whatever it may be, however we can serve you, that's what our ministry is here to do. So, great discussion today. Let's listen to these sermons over and over, take the scripture to heart, and then be back here on Friday for the next video as we look in depth at the application of these very things we learned about today. I'll see you guys there. Bye, friends.